YouTube, there is no firearms in this video.
Welcome back to the Low Care Gunner YouTube channel. In this episode, we will be reviewing the Umarex StrikeForce, a full auto CO2 powered BB gun. This has been sent to us by Airgun Source Canada to review, and it was pretty fun. It was my first airgun of this kind, so it was pretty interesting. I did get a small problem with the trigger during this review, but I did fix it only by oiling it, so that was not a huge problem. Enough rambling, I will go back over the specs and then we will talk about the positives and negative and my overall experience with it. This seems to be a new product from UMRX for 2025. Let's read a quick description of it real quick to know what it is about. The Umarex StrikeForce is modeled after the SBR style rifles. It features an L-shaped adjustable tactical stock, a 10-inch barrel, and an M-lock handguard. It has Picatinny rails for optics. The magazine holds 30 BBs and is chambered for .177 steel BBs, so it is not an airsoft. Do not shoot those at anyone. In there, other than the 30 BBs, you also got 2 CO2 cartridges to power it. In the box, you get the full auto BB gun, 1 magazine, and 3 interchangeable grip sizes. I did try those in my unboxing video if you are interested by that, but yeah, basically you can change the grip. This one does not have the beaver tail and this one has a bigger beaver tail basically. I believe that the Crossman SBR style airguns does have a interchangeable grip but compatible with actual ARs, but this one does not. They do give you 3 options though, so that's really not too bad. Let's take a quick look at the Airgun Source website where you can find those for $220 Canadian. Most of this rifle is made out of polymer with a metal action and buffer tube. The magazine is also pretty heavy and it does feel pretty solid. Like we said before, it is powered by 2 CO2 cartridges in the magazine. By the way, they do have a piercing order. I did not notice that before almost the end of this review because I was piercing the right one instinctivement. Okay, Airgun Quebec. Those magazines have a 30 BB capacity, which is not bad at all. I believe this is 5 more than the Crossman's, at least most of them. They seem to have 2 magazines, but yeah. They do not include a speed loader, but they are fairly easy to load. Sometimes the spring does catch. I suggest that you oil that with silicone oil, but yeah, you do have a little slit to make the BB fall in there. A speed loader will be nice, but it works. The type of safety is a fire selector. You do have it on both sides and you can access it with your thumbs. I do have small fingers, so it is hard for me to do it with my thumb. I kind of prefer to do it with my other finger on the other side just because I do reach and my thumb barely does and I need to stretch, but that's too much details on a safety. So this will be safe, this will be semi, and ooh, my hammer was cocked, I believe, and this will be full auto, and my hammer is not cocked anymore, so it does a different noise. So you might want to decock that after you use it in case that you did have enough CO2 to cock it back, and that might stay cocked for a while. This airgun also has a blowback feature. I currently don't have the magazine in there, so it will not lock open, and this is about what it will do while it fires, and it does kick pretty bad, which is a good thing. The blowback feature and the fun switch is definitively a big plus to this kind of airgun. On the box, they claim up to 460 FPS. We got way more than that. It got up to around 540 FPS on full CO2 and semi-auto, and a good 500 FPS even in full auto. So I suggest that you do watch this video if you're interested by that, because I just made myself put an overlay when I don't want to put overlays anymore, so watch it. We seem to get around 90 shots / 3 magazines with 2 CO2 cartridges, which is not too bad. You can shoot a bit more than that if you use semi-auto on a hot day, but you don't really get much more than 3 magazines. Ammo will also go by pretty quick, but this is part of the fun, and it is pretty much the cheapest ammo that you can find for any of those airguns, so it keeps it affordable. I suggest that you do stop shooting when it does start feeling weak. That's usually around the end of the third magazine, and it will start to sound pretty weak after that. If you do fill up a fourth magazine with 10 or 20 BBs, you might be able to cycle them, but you know, some similar air guns seem to have a better shot count, but they also have a lot less power, so you cannot really compare that. This is some shots that I took today, and from 10 meter I was not quite cracking the bottom of that can, but from 5 meter or so I definitively was. I also shot it from the side right there, and they did penetrate this side, and 2 out of 3 did come out of the other side, so a lot of power for a BB gun. By the way, you do want to wear safety glasses when you do that, and I did shoot my Crossman Squirrel just to know if I will hit the spinner, and I was not zeroed good enough for that, and it did make a dent into my target, so it will break your targets, cause ricochets, and that's pretty bad. We tested the accuracy together from 10/11 meters because my table is pretty much 1 meter long with different BBs, and we got some pretty decent results. It seems to be grouping the best with Umarex Hornady black coated BBs, and with Crossman Copperheads we only got one bad flyer down there, and yeah, so that's it. Watch this video if you want to see that, but it seems to be doing around 2-inch groups at 10-11 meters on a good day, so not the most accurate, but good enough to shoot cans and have a lot of fun. If you use the full auto mode, it might spread a little bit because of the blowback and also the velocity going down a little bit with the gas not being able to keep up for like 30 shots straight, but yeah, this is 30 shots. Maybe some of them did not land on paper, but most of them did. So really not too bad in full auto too. If you put a can out there, it will catch a few. So yeah, enough rambling. This is also on video, so if you want to see that, just watch my last few videos. This is the review. This airgun is not super loud by any means. I will not say that it is very quiet either. It is a CO2 rifle, but I will say that it is backyard friendly for the most part. Maybe not if you are causing ricochets onto your neighbor's yard and you're unsafe about it, but yeah, if you have a brain and your neighbors are pretty friendly and you know that you can do that where you're at, this should be good enough for the noise level. You do get some M-lock slots under there, and on the sides you also have some quick detach sling mounts on the stock right there and on the sides, so that's pretty cool. And of course you have the full length Picatinny optic rail on top. By the way, you can remove the flip up iron sights, plastic sights, or flip up sights, call that how you want, but you can remove that if you want to put better ones or just use an optic. By the way, quick note about that, I did remove those when I was using the red dot in the videos, and I had to slide this one from the back out there and this one from the front for some reasons. I don't really know why. And I also did try to move this back a little bit and move this up front a little bit to see if that will give me a better picture, but it only made me do more adjustments and it was not lining up right afterwards, so I got it about how it was out of the box, and that's working pretty good. By the way, those sights are adjustable both for windage and for elevation, so not too shabby at all. The rear sight is some sort of peep sight with some green fiber optics around it, and the front sight is a red dot fiber optic thingy, so it looks kind of cool. It is not the most precise sights ever, but they work fairly good enough for what this is. It is not the most accurate, so you don't really need some match grade sights either. I already said that, but it comes with 3 different back straps. The stock is adjustable also. This helps with smaller people, smaller ends and stuff. The overall weight is 5.50 pounds, so that's with the sights and the magazines and stuff. I don't believe I had CO2 in there, but yeah. This rifle is pretty ambidextrous overall. The safety is on both sides, so that's not too bad. The mag release is on the right side and the bolt release is on the left side, so that's about fair. The butt stock can be interchanged with any AR stock. The buffer tube is a pretty nice metal part, so that's pretty cool. The overall length goes from 27.1 inches all the way up to 30.25 inches, aka 30 inch and a quarter, something like that. Merca. The length of pull goes from 10 to 13 inches with this stock on. The barrel length is 10 inches and it is not rifled because this is a BB gun. The trigger did record over 8 pounds on my Wheeler trigger scale, but it really does not feel that bad if you ask me. Even if I cock it, you do have a wall. It is stiff, I will not lie about that, but to me, it does not feel like 8 pounds. On the tip right there, you do have a 14 millimeter counterclockwise muzzle, so you could remove that or change that for something else if you want to. I did not try removing that. Maybe that will affect accuracy or something. I need to try that now. Leave a comment if you want me to try that. This airgun is covered by a 1-year limited warranty from Umarex. I will assume that Airgun Source will take care of it if you do have an early issue with it and replace it, because they did from someone in the comments. So yeah. Alright, so this was 45 minutes of rambling in my basement to tell you the specs of this nice beauty. Now let's go about the positive and negative. I will start by the positive just because I want to. So of course, one of the two positive points slash fun factors of this kind of air rifle slash BB gun is that it has the blowback feature, which does rock your shoulder a little bit, and also the fun switch, which goes and that's pretty nice. That's pretty much the only you can do in Canada. So yeah, get one before we cannot anymore, because you guys voted for the wrong people. I shall not say that on YouTube. Cut! Another positive point about this specific BB rifle, if we compare it to most of them, is that this one is quite a bit more powerful. I don't know if all of them will shoot as hot as mine, but all of them seem to be shooting hotter than Crossman's, just for reference. More power might reduce the shot count a little bit, but you still get a good 3 magazines, which are 30 shots, so really not too bad. To me, that's pretty decent. Another good point is that the flip-up sights are adjustable both for windage and elevation, so that's pretty useful. And I really like when sights are adjustable, because if the BBs are not landing where you're aiming, you have to think about where you're aiming instead of having fun, and sometimes that's just annoying. I don't think that Airgun Source Canada does have the magazines in stock right now, but UMRX does offer replacement slash spare magazines, and those are $50, which can sound expensive, but that's like $10 or $20 less than competitors, so not too bad. Now let's go for the negative points. Basically, my first negative point was that the drop-free magazines were very stiff to put in and out, but they got really better since the beginning. They still are not drop-free. I don't think it will get out of there by itself, but it is not a struggle anymore, so that's pretty nice. My second negative point is that you don't get a speed loader, but you do have a spring thingy that will stay down there for you to slide BBs in the hole. A speed loader will be better, but you can also carry something like that and just pour BBs in to have less trouble. Also, the magazine spring does catch from time to time around this area, but if you oil it with silicone oil, it is really not too bad. Another negative point is that it is not the most accurate ever, at least not at 10 meter. I should have done a bit more testing at 5 meter because it really seemed to be very accurate, but you guys want me to test it at 30 meter instead, so I don't really know if you guys want to see that. But yeah, to keep it short, BB guns are not the most accurate overall. This is plenty of accuracy to have fun, so we cannot really complain about that. Airgun Source also sent me the AER-16, which is on the shelf right there and not unboxed yet, so stay tuned if you want me to compare them and stuff, and let me know what you guys want to see. Another negative point is that the trigger is not the best. It is pretty heavy. It can feel pretty stiff, especially if you're on safety. But to me, it is not horrible. I mean, on this kind of airgun, I don't really notice it, and it feels decent to me. During all of my videos, even the first one, I did get a bit of a trigger glitch. This seemed to have been caused by a lack of lubrication inside of there, which I wish they would be more clear about in the manual, where to oil the trigger, where to oil the stuff inside of there. They don't really talk about that in the manual. They don't even mention the bolt release, I believe, and stuff like that. So that could be better, the manual. If you don't want to have trigger issues, I would recommend that you do oil the mechanism before you use it, and use quite a bit of lube, not too much, but I was not using enough at the beginning, so it did not fix my issue. Now that I did lube it pretty well, it seems to be working pretty well, so we're back in business. I've been telling you guys to decock it for all of this time, but I'm not even sure it is decocking anything when you do that. At this point, I will stop telling you information so I cannot get it wrong. By the way, you can do that all you want. This will not cause double feeding, but pressing the trigger will cause double feeding if you do not have CO2 in there, but you do have BBs inside of the magazine, basically. So yeah. What is even happening? Why is it firing without CO2 in there? I mean, I just double checked, but there is no CO2 in there. What the f was that noise? Basically, from what I understand, and I don't always understand right, by the look of it, the stem will hit right there. This will make the BB come out straight into the barrel, and that's about it. If you don't have CO2 in there, but you do have BBs, hitting that might make one come out inside of the barrel without enough power to make it come out, or any power to make it come out, so you might cause problems with that. I did that during the unboxing video, and I had to unjam it before I even used it, so don't do that. So yeah, that was a lot of rambling. I don't even know where I was at this point, but yeah, you do have an order to tighten the cartridges. They do mention it in the bottom corners, first and second. I did not notice that. I did not read that in the manual, I believe, either. So the manual could be clearer for maintenance and for everything like that. One thing that I was not a huge fan at first is this charging handle with a button down there to rack it and then release it. It is plastic. It seemed a bit weak at first to me, but it works very good when there's CO2 in there. It feels even better, so this is not a huge deal at all. At this point, I'm not even saying negatives. I'm just reading notes and trying to give you more info about it. So that will be that for today. Shit. Before I end this video, I do want to mention that you can easily take it apart by taking this pin out and using this pin to push this other pin halfway out, because it does not come all the way out, and you will be able to oil your trigger mechanism afterwards. If you don't have tools, that can be a nice little trick. Use the other pin to push this one out, and basically after that you can, I will make sure that it is decocked. Yeah, it was not. That can be a good thing. And then you can pop that like that. You can even put this pin back in if you don't want to take everything apart, but I usually do to clean stuff, which is more handy. So you want to put some oil inside of there to make sure that everything works fine. If you don't want to have trigger issues and stuff, I will do that before putting it away, because I did use 4 cartridges today just to have fun and make sure that the trigger was working good. It was working good, so I will put more oil and call it fixed. This is really the only issue that I had with this airgun in quite a few CO2 cartridges and quite a fair bit of BBs, so I will say that it did pass the test. It was a very fun experiment, and I do like blowback airguns of this kind now, so I need more, maybe, who knows. Airgun Source can send me more. This will be about it for the Umarex StrikeForce review. Overall, we had a lot of fun with it. had only one problem with the trigger, and it was fixed only by adding a little bit of oil to the trigger mechanism, which they do tell you to do, but they don't tell you how. So yeah, BB guns like that are not the most accurate, but they definitively are a lot of fun for the feeling. So you should get one if you don't have one and can afford it. Again, a huge thank you to Airgun Source Canada for this review opportunity. I will be unboxing this one soon enough. It is still in the plastic wrapping right now. I can prove you that. I did not even try this one before I finished the other review. I'm a bit too methodic, but yeah, this is the plastic and stuff. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching this video, and subscribe for more if you did not do that. I'm trying to say words to save a cut in the editing program. By the way, I had to spend $100 on that to keep making videos, and I deserve a like for that, I believe. Or if you want to be a member for $2, that also help. That's enough rambling, and I will see y'all in the next one. So that was an hour and 25 of footage. Okay, so if you think this video is too long, Doogie, listen to me ramble for an hour and 24, okay?